they were going to be losing the core of this team anyway. Right? I mean, they were going to be losing Grubauer. They're going to be losing Werrick. They're going to be losing Moon, Goodbranson,
but
Doherty.
They traded for Grubauer. They could have stuck with Cullen and made it a rebuilding year.
You know what? I will take Grubauer over Cullen. I mean, there were enough assets.
Oh, I agree for this year. But I'm saying if they didn't have to make that trade.
No, they didn't. I mean, they could have had another mediocre year, and they could have hung on to some assets and maybe looked at next year. But the bottom line is the core of this team, the core talent of this team is gone at the end of this year.
Yeah.
So I think you take that core and you say, let's do whatever we can to go as deep as we can. And I think for the most part, they've done that. I think they have the horses back on defense. I mean, you look at these players individually or on paper and you go, this should be a stellar defensive crew. It really should. And I think they show signs of being that way. But again, it's that team defense and the opportunities they give up. And frankly, I think as a club, they're a little bit fragile. And I don't know why they're fragile, but any team that gives up big leads over and over again, all of a sudden, it becomes a real issue for that club. And they're going to have to string together a bunch of wins and protect some leads not to have that fragile feeling as a club. But once they get over that hump, and I really believe this team could go on a long run. And with Spooner in the lineup, and if they address the defensive situation, and I mean team defense situation, I think with their size, their speed, and their goaltending, they can compete with Mississauga. Have they done so early this year? No, they haven't. It's a long season, and you know full well that I'm the eternal optimist. Let's talk about Ethan Werrick showing up, right?
Yep.
I'm always the optimist when it comes to this club and the potential. And I think there's more potential right now with the makeup of this club than we have seen in a long, long time.
But that's not speaking to the potential of this team, John. The reason you're able to say that is because for the past 12 years, the potential has been so embarrassingly bad.
Yeah.
I mean, we're going on again back to the issue of Kingston's incredibly low standards. And why should we be okay with a decent run this year that leads to absolutely nothing in the future? And why, if we're talking about the need to address the team defense problem, why do you trust the current coaching staff to address that when they sure as heck didn't last year?
Again, a valid question, and maybe that's something that this coaching staff has to take. I mean, maybe they have to look in the mirror. I can't address that. I don't know why they were unable to do it last year. Was it lack of experience, a lack of communication?
It wasn't just defense. I mean, it was like the power play last year. They had incredible talent and third last in the league in the power play. How is that even possible?
That, you know what? You ask many good questions. Which is why you're sitting there and I'm sort of scratching my head going, well, he's got a point. But you know what? I see it improving. I really do. And I'm all over your point as to is a deep run without a championship and then 2 or 3 terrible years following up, is that worth it? And overall I say no, because you see teams, you know, we had Windsor win back-to-back Memorial Cups.
And they're not even bad the year after doing that.
They're not
over
even
500 this year.
Exactly. And you see the Londons and the Kitcheners and the Ottawas. They all have one bad year, but then they're back to being true contenders in their conference. Kingston hasn't had a run like that where they've, you know, had a really strong team rebuild and still make the playoffs. When they go down, they go a long way down, and they've done that more often than not. And who knows why? I mean, you look at the talent that, you know, this team has had, and you expect better. But we've also been through 3 coaches, so you can't say it's just the coaching, because I mean, Halton had some okay years, but you know, certainly, you know, Cassidy didn't do a whole lot for the Frontenac team. And
I wonder who's been the constant the past 12 years. Who's been in the same position with the team for the past 12 years?
And you know what? And
Continue, John. Sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt you
there. It's okay. And I look at both sides of every argument. There have been some years where I did not like the makeup of the club. I didn't like some of the trades that were made. And yeah, that goes right back to the GM. But there have been in the last couple of years, and I think people don't give him enough credit sometimes. I think the Placatus pickup last year was really solid. I think the trades he's made to get Grubauer, now to get Spooner, and
gave up a lot for them. But I'll tell you, there were some that were nice pickups that we might not have expected in the past. Michael Fine, for example, turned out to be much better than you would have expected when they acquired him. Well, there's one at the very least.
Sure, and I'll say that this year he's playing like they expected him to play last year. Michael Fine did not have a great year last year. He sort of came on a little bit at the end of the season. I think he's just finally playing at a level that everyone expected him to play at, and so we're happy we got what we paid for finally.
As we look into next year potentially, John, I've had people say to me, Doug Gilmour obviously wants to use this team as a springboard to an NHL coaching job, and there's nothing wrong with that. No. That's what a lot of coaches want to do. They don't necessarily want to stay in junior the whole time. If he stays on after this year, this is going to be the best it's going to get for Doug Gilmour as far as being able to say, look at what I did with a team of junior-aged players. Is there a good chance he won't be back next year because of the fact that this is kind of the year for the team?
That's a good possibility. He may think about that, but you know what? If he wants to prove himself as a coach, and he has a good run this year and then is left with a much lesser team next year, and he has an okay year, even if it's an okay year.
Yep, if he makes them play better than they look on paper.
Exactly. Then you know what? I think he gets more people looking at him as a coach than they do this year with all kinds of offensive assets and a top goalie. It's like, you know what? People expect this team to perform. And if they perform, it's not exactly a win-win situation for Doug Gilmour. Where he will be put to the test is next year. And exactly as you say, Tyler, if they can perform above what they look like on paper, suddenly I think he gets the respect as a coach.
I agree that would be great. I don't think Doug Gilmour can do that. Other question, is this the year, at the end of the year, where Larry Mavety finally retires? Considering what you've seen him doing, clearly wants to make this a big bang of a year. What better way to go out? Is there the potential there?
You know what? Flip a coin. I honestly don't know. My gut says no, he'll be around. Doug Springer seems to have great faith in Larry Mavety.
I've gotten that impression too, yeah.
And so I don't see any reason why Larry Mavety would pack things up. If he has a really good run here, who knows? It could be, but I don't have any inside information. I don't think any of us do. Maybe it'd be great for him to go out on a high note. Maybe he wants to do the same thing Gilmour wants to do next year. Maybe he wants the challenge. Maybe he wants to build a team from the ground up. I don't know. I wish him luck no matter what he does. If he chooses to retire, it's been an interesting run. If he chooses to stay on, again, as a fan and as a broadcaster, I wish him all the luck in the world. No one wants to call a team who wins 12, 15 games in a year. So let's hope that next year is a 500 club. And if it is, I'm going to be tipping Gilmour and Larry Mavety because based on what's coming back, I don't think there are many people who think this is going to be a 500 club next year.
Last thing, really key for this team and for the whole community next year. Will you be back?
I don't know.
Are you serious?
Yeah.
You actually don't know?
I don't know.
Wow, I thought this was going to be the easy little question to end the interview, but you actually are considering not necessarily being back?
It's been 10 years. This is my 10th season doing the OHL Tonight on TV Cogeco, and I've had a ton of fun. But you know what? My kids are now off to school, and I'll certainly think about it.
Yeah?
Yeah.
So here we go then. This could be the big year. Is it time to start the campaign, win this one for Beggsy?
Yeah. I think if Jeff Stillwell of the Frontenacs is listening, I want a 75-foot banner up beside Zigamana saying "Win it for Beggsy."
I think at the very least your number should be retired. I mean, we need your
my number or my weight.
John, I got to say, I'm completely out of time. I'd like to continue the shtick here, but unfortunately, I'm running out. Can we have you back on sometime?
I would love to do it.
Thank you very much. Jon Begg, ladies and gentlemen, the wonderful color commentator from TV Coach Go. I'm actually overtime. What a terrible radio host I am. Well, I did come in 10 minutes late, so does that allow me a bit of time to run over? I don't think it actually does on CFRC. So I'm out of here, folks. We'll be back next Thursday at 4. I'm sure there'll be plenty to talk about in Frontenacs land. We'll try and grab you another wonderful interview. Check online on the France Talk forum. We will post our interview with former Frontenacs goaltender John Cullen and our discussion with color commentator on the TV Coach Go broadcasts, Jon Begg. More great local sports talk coming up in a week's time. Don't forget tonight, Kingston Voyageurs hosting the Lindsay Muskies at 7:30. I will have the call on kingstonvoyageurs.on.ca. Talk to you in a week, folks.
Is he too hard on the Frontenacs?
It's very easy to criticize.
Fun, too.
Nah. Tyler King on Offsides.